Here's our week of the 18th of September of 2022. Okay, so here's our septic system that the whole top of it fell in. The cement is down at the bottom. We were going to pump all the dirty water out, so you can see the pump here that Steve had. We were trying to figure out how to get it down in there. Couldn't quite figure it out, and then we decided, hey, we have some cinder blocks that we could use. First Steve said, that like cinder blocks are like $5 a piece. But he was going to order all this dirt to fill this in. I said, well, the cinder blocks, $5 a piece, is a lot cheaper to fill it up that way than getting tons and tons of dirt. And we have them. So we took the cinder blocks and put as many in there as we could to kind of fill it up. And you can see the cinder blocks now in there. We filled up what we could, and then it was time to bypass this tank because it was starting to crumble, and Steve couldn't even put a lid on it. He was afraid it just wouldn't hold it. They're 20, 30 years old. So he decided just to cut off the pipe from the other two tanks that we have that come into this, overflow into this, and then this one goes into the final tank that pumps it out to the lines. So here he is starting to cut it off, and you can see him again trying to cut it off there. Now it's cut off, and we are ready to put the new pipe on, which was quite challenging. As you can see, it's not just a straight shot. You have to go across and kind of angle it. So he and Tristan put together some pipes, but it didn't quite fit, and Steve needed a part for it, so he and I went to Home Depot, and by that time it was too dark to work on it. Next day came, I tried to help him, wasn't working too well. He called David Webb, our friend, and our friend came over and helped him. And that little black piece that you see there is what we had to get from Home Depot to help make that angle. But he finally got it in. Then it came time to dump into the tank. So we started by putting dirt in, getting a load, and had to do it on the side so he didn't break the pipe that he just put in. And here you can see David Webb watching him, making sure he's getting it correctly in. Okay, and now the tank is all full with dirt, and he went around and kind of leveled it and took the extra dirt and put it around on the grass. But then where we had the cinder blocks before, we now had rebar that needed to come out. We didn't need the rebar there anymore. Steve tried to pull it out with the tractor, but the chain just kept sliding. But our neighbor had post hole, takes them out of the ground. So he was able to borrow that and get those rebar up, which he's brought up here to Missouri and we'll use up here. Our friends came Thursday morning and helped us load everything from the tractor. We had the cattle or the horse trailer all already packed, but he couldn't do this till they got there because we had to hook this trailer up to their truck. We had to load some of the things from, like the weights from the tractor, into the back of his truck. Anyways, and then they had to put the mower on. The mower was on the bottom of the tractor, you can see that, but on the back is this bush hog, and on the front is the bucket and the forklifts. So we had to do all of that. Then we had to get it all chained down. And then we followed them up to Missouri. And so we sat and watched our tractor being hauled up to Missouri. We got up there on toll road, and Steve has on his phone no toll roads. Anyways, they had a toll pass, which we didn't know, but they got ahead of us, quite a bit ahead of us. And so Steve started watching his GPS, and it took us off the toll, which was really weird. You go, you get your ticket, then the guy says, oh, take it up there about 2 miles up, and you're going to have to pay. And so we did, and we had, I'm like, tolls, how does that save you? It's supposed to save you time, but when you stop once to get the ticket, then you have to stop and you pay. And then we get about 7 or 8 miles up the road and we have to stop again, and then they gave us back money. Anyways, they said, that didn't really help us. That takes a lot of time, 3 stops in about 10 miles. Anyways, what we didn't realize is they had the toll tags, so they kept going on the toll. Well, because Steve has no tolls, it took us off of the way, off of the toll, and we ended up going on 2 different roads. They were on the toll road and we were not, but we were going parallel. Anyways, we saw some just beautiful land. We went over all these lakes, part of the Ozarks, the northern part of the Ozarks. Anyways, it was really pretty. And then we said, well, when we finally realized about an hour later, in texting, we realized we were on 2 different roads, driving parallel up Oklahoma and Kansas. And we said, well, when we get to 35, whoever gets there, let us, call the other person. We'll figure out where we're at and how far behind. We were sure we were way behind them. When we got to just about Independence, Steve says, oh, pick up the phone, call Shalimar. So I picked up my phone, and just as I picked it up to hit call her, she called me. And she says, we're on 35. I said, oh, so are we. Turns out we were like a half of a mile away from each other, which was absolutely amazing. We hadn't been together for over 3 hours. And we had had to make one stop to refill, and we knew that they would too. But anyways, so do tolls really, is it really worth it? Because we were only a half a mile behind them and we didn't pay the toll. They used their toll tag. Anyways, it was pretty amazing. And in a few minutes, we had caught up to them, and they arrived at our house. We passed them then, and they arrived at our house about 5 minutes after us. Anyways, here we are with the tractor. We drove the truck and the horse trailer into the metal building, and then we realized we don't even have room because of all the materials that are in there. We can't even get the other trailer in to unload the tractor. Steve said, just pull it by the house. So then came the unloading part of it, taking all the chains off, getting everything unhooked, and it was dark. So we loaded in the dark and we unloaded in the dark. And not the best pictures, but it gives you an idea. So I'd asked Sterling the day before we arrived to go pick the garden, and this is what he picked. And he said, "Mom, there was too many tomatoes, I gave up." I came home and did about 4 times that amount of tomatoes that he has here, and a few more zucchini squash. And Steve picked a few more even today. So the garden, it is dying off, but it's still producing quite a bit. So when I was down there, I took some of my zucchini, some of my melons, my tomatoes. I went and got stuff out of my freezer, and I took it to my friend Denise Webb, and she freeze-dried all of these different foods. And oh, she did the melons. If you've never had freeze-dried melon, at least my melon, it was so good. And even Denise and David said, this is like delicious. The best way I can describe it is it tastes like crunchy cotton candy. You don't feel like you're eating a fruit. You are eating sugar. Anyways, really good. I gave some to Shalimar that morning, and she took a bite. She said, "This is so good." Well, the first stop we made, which was about 10 minutes, this small bag of dehydrated melon, she said, "I've already eaten it all." Her husband got like 2 bites of it, and she'd eaten all of it. It's really good. Anyway, got back here. I still had all the squash, so I pulled out my just regular dehydrator, and I dehydrated a bunch of zucchini. I still have a lot left though, so I would probably dry another batch of it. And I will keep some out, and some I think I will stick in the freezer and see if there's a difference between either one of those. Anyways, so we get back, and it took us about 3 or 4 hours to clear out, moving some of the materials, like some of that metal. It's really heavy. It took all 3 of us to kind of push and pull to get some of it moved out of the way. We just couldn't move anything. Steve couldn't move the tractor to even get the parts off. The trailer was there. It needed to be unloaded. We unloaded some of it in the metal building, but some of it needed to go in the house. But it was so hard to move anything around, so we had to move some of the materials till Steve could finally move and get the bucket moved and get such a good deal. Anyways, here is where we put the bucket and the lawnmower that goes under there, so you can see how quickly things put away. Anyway, so Brian really wanted a lift to be able to put in the lights. It is really tall. They went to Sutherland's on Saturday morning, and their lift didn't work. That wasted about an hour and a half of their time. They found out there was a place in Chillicothe, so they went there and got a lift. And Sterling drove it off the trailer, and then he tried it out, and it looks like it will work. So while they were doing that, I was busy sanding the mezzanine. It took me all morning and a little bit of the afternoon, using our new sander that we bought. And then we went, I'll tell you about another place that we went. So we found out somebody on Facebook had these heavy metal shelves. We have some of them. And I told Steve, I've been telling him I really wanted 2 or 3 more. They had 4, but by the time I got hold of them, they only had 2 left. So we went and bought the 2. We took one apart and decided just to take the whole thing all together, the other one, not take it apart. So we picked those up, and then Shalimar and Steve Rains had told us about this place that sells all these things from this auction. And they get these pallets, and they buy that from an auction. Anyways, they put it all out and sell it separately. And so here's from that. It was actually a greenhouse that has all of the stuff that they sell. You can see the tape. I was almost out of tape in Texas. This is good, sturdy, much better tape than I had down there, and it's $1 a roll. And then Steve got some of the other tape that he can use for the building. And a choke cleaner. Anyways, we got all kinds of things. Most things were like $1, maybe $2 or $3. Really cheap. But they had a sander, just like the one we just bought. We spent over $100, $125, $130 on it. They had one there for $76. But we didn't need another one, so we didn't get that. We did spend $83, but Sterling figured out we have metal left from the building that he's designed some racks, some shelving that we can make from it, but he needed bolts. It'll all be bolted together. They just have to drill the holes. So we thought, well, that'd still be a lot cheaper to go buy the bolts. Well, at this place, they had a whole box of bolts, $10. There must be 100 bolts in there. I don't have a picture of that. And they had the lock screws to go with it. Anyways, so now we have everything we need to make more shelving, and it'll be much cheaper than the shelves that I just bought, but they will go downstairs. The shelves I bought will go upstairs on the mezzanine. Are filling up. There's some of the boxes that we've unloaded. Now it's trying to get shelving up and to get things organized to be in the right places, all things that are alike together. Anyways, we have so much more to bring up, but you can see how quickly our metal building is starting to fill up. And here is an overview of everything that we have in there so far already. It is getting full. Of course, once we get rid of these materials, get them put up, and get some of the shelving up, it will be much better. Those cabinets will go in the other room. Lots of reorganizing to do, lots more to do, but we have begun the move.